Alright everyone, welcome back. My name's Anthony, this is my shop, this is my channel, and this is Jude. So Jude and I decided that from now on we're going to tune our own cars. We're going to learn how to program and tune our own vehicles using aftermarket ECUs. And why do we say that? Because our luck with paying people to do our tunes was, I don't know how I can even rate that experience.
What?
Paying people to tune our vehicles.
Oh.
How can I rate that experience?
5 out of 10 because I spent
Less than that.
Like losing your wallet, I would say. That experience is horrible, right?
So I spent $1,400 the first time I took it over there.
Yep.
Second time was another $700.
Yep.
Then I had to go and pay another $600 somewhere else.
Yep.
And the car still.
Yeah. So that's Jude's little story. I spent near $8,000 in parts and labor at the other guy. Yeah, it was $2,000 just for injectors, $2,000 just for the injectors, plus his time, plus all the time to. Well, I don't know what he did, but my car was honestly no better. Actually, it was worse.
I did a better job in a day of no experience.
Yeah, you know, and I'm nuts and bolts, and I said now it's got to be. Now I have to evolve in becoming nuts, bolts, and then master tuner, which from now on I'm just going to educate myself.
I would go to tuning school for Center.
I'm going to go to tuning school on YouTube because there's one guy who's the best. His name's Joe Simpson, in my opinion, that actually meticulously does a tune. Where you went, that guy was a slap together dude, sloppy, and then the other guy we went to was just money grabbers. That's all they are. They're no Joe Simpson, that's for sure. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to teach myself, just like I taught myself how to be a technician, mechanic.
Steve Morris.
Steve Morris tunes his own engines.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, his own race
He's
engine.
also been doing this since he was
Yeah.
like 18,
I know.
17, 18.
Yeah.
Steve
Morris isn't dealing with the people that we deal with.
No.
No, he's dealing with people that are like, I want a big block. Okay, this is going to be $30,000 to start.
Yeah, just for me to look at your. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
30,000 for me just to get started, sir. And they're like, all right, go ahead.
and then every time you send it back, it's like 10 G's.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
$100,000 later, here you go, sir. Yeah, we're not seeing those types
But
of
his
people.
motors have longevity. Like that's a clear thing, though.
It's been an interesting day here so far today. Very interesting.
He says that you should be checking valve life between every event.
That's
Like,
'cause
tearing
On
it
those
apart.
engines, yeah.
On those
He has
engines.
solid motors.
Yeah.
Because they pound the death out of the springs. That's just the way it is. All right, keep going, boys. So Jude's doing an exhaust manifold on this Dodge Ram. Yesterday, I was actually on here in 3 Bay, getting ready to do the air on this Dodge Ram, but then I had to back this customer out. I had to back out a customer, which makes me nauseous that I actually had to do that, and bring in another car that had an appointment for an exhaust check, and then 40 minutes later, I had to back his car out, and I could have been 40 more minutes onto this guy's Dodge Ram. And then when I scratched my head about, and I said, like, the muffler and tailpipe were new, the center section was rotted out already, the customer was already under there slapping muffler mud and everything, and he was kind of shocked on what we said was needed. So what we said was needed was center pipe, catalytic converter, front pipe, and your exhaust manifold was cracked in half where you packed muffler mud in it. And he had to think about it. And I was like, well, I was thinking about finishing the frame repair on this customer's car who's spending $2,400, who comes every week to spend $2,400 worth of work. But that's the business I guess we're in sometimes. I almost told Rachel to tell him, sorry, we have to cancel his appointment for an exhaust check because we overbooked ourselves, but it is what it is. And then we had another customer this morning that swears, and I'm just going to give you an experience. We were slammed all day yesterday, and the phone rang off the hook, and it was a revolving door. So we were trying to manage the traffic as streamlined for everybody, meaning the customers' needs were met, right? And we could handle the workload. So Rachel took a job in and said, hey, I can't promise I'm even going to look at this car today. We are so busy. And then by, I think, 3 o'clock, I finally got the car in for an engine light diagnosis, ABS diagnosis. Somebody else worked on the car before me diagnosis. So I got to laugh. And then I look at it, and then they said that it sounds like there's an exhaust leak. Duh. How about the fresh chopped up exhaust system with muffler mud slapped on it? Is definitely a problem, but I said it's the muffler mud's masking the crappy work. I don't know what to tell you. Then the front pipe gasket was shot. They put O2 sensors in it, and it keeps coding for the rear one, but it was coding for the front one. And then I was like, all right, I just need to diagnose this and take it from there. So I put the car, I go for a road test, and then it's got multiple issues with the suspension and then all the warning lights. I bring it in the shop. I scan the systems. I scan the traction control. I start doing my visual inspection. I check the patch exhaust work that they said that they heard an exhaust leak. And I said, well, it's ugly, but it's still holding, so I don't really see any reason to really do anything with it besides it's ugly. And I'm not chipping away the muffler mud to see what I'm dealing with under there. The front pipe gasket, the manifold, was beat.
You're doing your due diligence.
I'm doing my job. And this is that 330, which I could have been doing approved jobs, but I was trying to catch up on waiters or drop-offs. And then I looked at the downstream O2 sensor, and I'm like, this does not appear to be an OEM O2 sensor. And it had no codes for upstream, so why would I chase my tail? I'm just focusing on the downstream O2 sensor. I told Rachel, I said, I don't believe this is an OEM O2 sensor, let alone a Denso, because Denso has white, gray, blue, and black. This had 2 whites and 2 blacks, which tells me it's usually the cheapest crap O2 sensor you can buy, and that's probably the problem. So that was at 345 or 330, somewhere around there. On top of the ABS harness hanging, on top of the suspension issues. So Rachel and I talk about it. Now Rachel's got to source parts and estimate and all this stuff. That takes an estimate for Rachel for more than one product line is 20 to 30 minutes worth of work with phone calls. Because we try locally for what we can get OEM, and if we can't, then we got to call the dealer. So by then it's 3:30, almost 4 o'clock, and then Rachel calls, and then they don't answer or something. They just call, and we told them what was wrong with it, and they kept calling and kept calling and kept calling. So anyway, then the person shows up to pick up the car. They're arguing with Rachel that how rude Rachel was, and then they're telling me to my face that the car was in the shop at 12:30, and there's 2 people involved here. That the car was in the shop at 12:30. I'm like, I was the only one to diagnose that car, and it didn't come into the shop until at least 3 or after 3 o'clock. That's a fact. And then she was going on about this and that, and I said, well, what are we arguing about here? Well, she goes, how I was treated. I'm like, you weren't treated any way wrong. We told you that we may not look at your car today. We already warned you up front that whenever you dropped your car off, we may not look at your car today. That's it. And if we don't call you, that means usually you didn't look at your car. What are you doing with the tire there?
I gotta put the fender on.
So then the guy that she was with was saying, she said, we drove by at 12:30 and the car wasn't on the lip. Do you think you have the only 4-door black car that comes in here? Hold on. Does this look like a little Nissan? That's a Toyota.
Out of all the cars we look at,
I know, but
look at a car
she's
and swear
arguing with me, and I'm just trying to be as nice as I can. I'm like, why are you arguing? You didn't drive by my shop at 12:30 and see your car in the bay. It didn't happen.
Even if you did, you're telling me you slowed down enough on the highway.
Why didn't you just stop in?
If
If you drove by, you should have just went around the corner and said, hey guys, what's going on? And maybe I could have gave you a little update, but I was giving you an update on someone else's car. It wasn't even your car. And I said, why are we arguing about this? We did everything that we were supposed to do, and we were honest and upfront that you may not look at your car today. And me running around like a nut yesterday, processing estimates for people, let alone customers who didn't want anything fixed.
My whole thing is, why is
Hold
it
on.
that big of a
And then the guy says to her, while he's standing there, he goes, well, maybe it was like 2:30, 3 o'clock. It was after 12, way after 12 by the time I brought her car in. So he's saying almost a 2 to 3 hour difference than she's saying. I'm like, all right, listen. And then they're like, well, why is the O2 sensor and why is this and why is that? I'm like, it's obvious you had someone else work on your car and it's not right. Well, why is the O2 sensor up front not coding? I don't have that answer because it's not coding now. All I can tell you is what I see is in front of me is that the exhaust work is crappy, but it's okay, and I'm not even advising anything. It's ugly, but leave it alone. It needs a gasket and some spring bolts, and it needs a downstream O2 sensor. You want the ABS harness fixed? You want the steering calibrated? You want the front end diagnosed? And I was just like, why? Why?
I think people like telling you.
Why? And then another customer, I'm not worried about anything but the frame on this car. You're not worried about the tires blowing out, the front end falling apart. And I'm like, I try, people. I really try. And then ultimately they didn't want to pay for the diagnosis. And Rachel's like, I thought you said it was like $150, and I'm like, nah, make it $60. We're getting, I'm getting grief for zero reason. Because the customer's telling me their vehicle was in the shop at 12:30 yesterday. And that's the furthest thing that actually happened.
Customer may always be right.
No, it's not fair that you get harassed for no reason. Like, I have enough going on in my day to not hear the nonsense. Like, let alone the car was never even in the shop. It was somebody else's little dark colored car in the shop, but it definitely wasn't theirs.
If it was like neon green or like bright pink, I could understand if you're like, okay, well the car was in about this time. There's 3 cars, either 4 cars.
This is where hold on, this is where I call it's the red flags. Like, all right, you said it was 12:30, you drove by. Well, why didn't you stop in? Why didn't you call? Because if you would have called and said, is my car in the shop? I thought I saw it in the Baser, and like, sorry, that's a Toyota Camry, and you have a Nissan Versa or Nissan Sentra. That's not your car. You only have 4 bays. And then ask me why that the work that somebody else did is screwed up. It is. It's underdiagnosed. It's not done properly. That's all I can say. Is like, you asked me to diagnose the problems, I gave you the answers. And
that's the same. Buy nicer, try twice.
But then she said, well, I don't have problems at the other, I'm going to do that. You're welcome to go back there. Good luck with that. Crazy. And I told Rachel last week was the twilight zone here, and she's like, I can't believe Monday is, 50 phone calls, people coming in and out. I said, yep, last week was a complete twilight zone. No phone calls, no walk-ins, customers were difficult. And what customers were actually serious about fixing the cars? We did our job like we do everything. We do our job the same way. Hold on, we do our job exactly the same exact way Jude's spraying that. We execute the same way. You grab the can, you squeeze the trigger, and fluid comes out. Execute the same process every day. And then when I heard that Rachel was rude, and I said, that is so out of her character for Rachel to ever be rude with anyone. Yeah, hold on. And then she said, I never even talked to this lady. Never even had a conversation with her. She had a conversation with the man.
I had my motorcycle at a shop for 2 months, and I never heard from them. I called them multiple times, and they always said, we'll get on it today, tomorrow. You're next.
That's a red flag. Hold on, ready? Here's another red flag. Say it again. Here's red flags in our business.
My motorcycle was at a shop for 2 months. I dropped it off. I said, hey, take your time with this.
That was your first mistake.
I said, I'm not in a huge rush. When I was expecting like 2 weeks.
Right, yeah, right.
Like 2 weeks. I said, do your process. This is what I think it is, but
Do your job, right?
Do your job. I said, I get that I got to pay diagnostic, whatever. Do it however you got to do it.
Yeah. This is a motorcycle shop.
After a week or two, I called him and I was like, hey, got my bike off 2 weeks ago, just looking for an update. He was like, you haven't gotten a phone call from us yet? I'm like, no. I was like, that's weird. So then...
Oh, it's weird, huh?
That's weird. So then he looks and he goes, nobody ever put your bike in the system. I'm so sorry about that.
They don't know there's a random bike sitting around that doesn't belong to anybody?
I'm going to do that right now. They probably have 50 bikes.
That's okay, but their job, right, like I just said, we execute the same process every time. The front door opens, the customer comes in and says blah, 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 and then Rachel will say blah, 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 and then the process is the same, right?
Yeah.
No different than spraying this can and brake clean. But go ahead, keep going.
So then it's there another 2 weeks.
We don't deviate from the process.
I don't hear anything again, so I call him again. I'm like, dude, we've been slammed. I'm so sorry. We'll get on it, and I'll give you a call in a couple days, let you know what's going on. Still nothing for another 2 weeks, so I call him again, and I'm very obviously frustrated at this point.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know what's going on, but doesn't really give me any answers.
Perfect. Keep it just right there. If Rachel was ever rude to a customer, it would never be the Rachel standing in this shop. Never. Go ahead, finish your story.
Didn't give me any answers, so then I was just looking for a weekend that I can go pick it up.
Just go get it.
2 weeks later, this past weekend, I finally got time to go pick it up. I show up, I'm like, hey, I'm here to pick up my bike. He asked me what my name is. I give him my name, my information, and I was like, yeah, it's been here for 2 months and I haven't heard anything. He goes, it's not normally like us. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go take it. And I said,
bullshit.
I said, I'm going to go take it somewhere else now. He said, all right, I understand. And he pulled my bike out of the back. He said it was in a back corner. Never should have been there.
Of course, yeah, of course.
And he's pulling it up front.
Now this story gets better.
Pulling it up front, and he told me, he's like, yeah, we diagnosed it. Somebody put a piece of paper on there saying that it needs an ECM. And said, if you want us to do it, we can. If not, I understand.
No.
I said, I'll take it myself and I'll put an ECM in it myself.
Yeah.
$300 for a computer.
Hold on. But then we had a regular customer stop in, and we talked about this, that we changed his key fob battery. It only lasts 4 months.
Well, he's the one that recommended
I know, that's why I said the story gets better.
He's the one that recommended me to that shop.
But I said, you try and take any battery back to CVS, Walmart, or anywhere after 4 months, they're going to tell you to go pound sand. What do we say? No problem, sir. We'll take care of it.
He has a Hayabusa, and he took it there, and they dropped it, and they didn't say anything. Friday, he calls for an update. They dropped it on a Thursday. Friday, he calls for an update. They're like, yeah, we dropped your bike yesterday. It's like, so then he went, he picked it up, and he's going to file a lawsuit.
Just a casual fucking $20,000 bike.
Yep, $20,000.
I get it, but I'm saying our process, when someone says Rachel was rude, that is so, if you said April was rude, I would say, okay, I know that she can, if you're going to give April some static, she's going to static you right back. And same thing with me. You want to rub me up and down, I'm going to walk up and down you. But not my little blue-eyed angel. Never gets mean with anyone. Except for the guys.
That's different.
That's my rant. See ya.